Now, morality generally has two forms. You could either have subjective morality or objective morality. Let's start with the first one. Subjective morality. It's the idea that morality depends on the person, the situation, or the time, etc. So, what is moral in one country or in one era is not necessarily going to be moral in another country or another era. But that's problematic because if something is moral in one country and immoral in another one, which is it? Is it actually moral or immoral? And effectively, what this means is there is no concrete definition of morality. Most people who have subjective morality in this day and age have a common take, and that is, I do what I want as long as it does not harm others. This is a common principle of liberalism that you have a lot of people expressing. But the thing is, I do what I want is effectively what Satanists believe or hedonists believe. And obviously, since these people don't want to be lumped together with that category of people, they add this little caveat that, oh, as long as it does not harm others. But what do you mean by harming others? Who defines what is harmful or not? If you say something that someone else finds offensive, are you harming them or are you not harming them? If you wear something that someone else finds provocative, are you harming them or not harming them? Who gets to define this? Again, it's subjective. So what happens is it ultimately devolves into morality as per my own convenience. I will do what I think is moral as long as it is convenient, as long as I want to. But if it becomes too hard, requires too much effort, too much sacrifice, then I'll make excuses, then I'll give other justifications, then I'll say, oh, it's not moral to begin with. So what is the Islamic stance on subjective morality? Allah says in the Quran, in Surah number 25, verses 43 and 44, have you seen, O Prophet, the one who has taken their own desires as their God? Will you then be responsible for them? Or do you think that most of them listen or understand? They are but like cattle. Rather, they are even further astray from the right way. Subjective morality is essentially that. You are making yourself God. Because you're saying, I don't care what God says is right or wrong, I'm going to do what I want. So your own desires become your God. And these people have been described like cattle. Why? Because animals do this as well. They act upon instinct. They just do whatever their instinct tells them to do. They don't really think about it too much. And rather, these people have been described as worse than cattle because when it comes to animals, they still live in accordance with the nature that God gave them. As human beings, our purpose of creation is to worship Allah. If we don't do that, if we don't live according to His guidelines, we're not even fulfilling our basic purpose. So we're even worse off than the animals. But you might say, well, subjective morality is not all that bad. People who have subjective morality can still do good things, good deeds. They can still give charity, help others. That's true. But what it boils down to is, why do these people do these good deeds? It's about convenience. They do it because in their mind they want that release of that chemical that makes them feel good about themselves. But if that release isn't going to come, or if it's too difficult, then they won't do those good deeds to begin with. And guess what? When it's convenient, when it's easy, everyone does good deeds. That's nothing special. Find the worst people in all of humanity, and even they do some good deeds when it's convenient to them or when they just feel like it. And what does Allah say? Allah says in the Quran in Surah number 25, verses 22 and 23, the day they will see the angels, there will be no good news for the sinners that day. And they will say, we need a shelter, fully protected. Then we will turn whatever good deeds they did, reducing them to scattered dust. Allah does not need such half-hearted good deeds anyway. So that brings us to objective morality. Objective morality says there is a definitive answer to what is good and evil, which is not subject to a person's opinion. So it comes from an objective source. In Islam, this source of objective morality is obviously the all-wise, all-knowing, most just, most perfect creator. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah number 27, verses 1 to 3, Ta-Sin. These are the verses of the Quran, an enlightening book, a guidance and good news to the believers who establish Salah and who pay Zakah and who have certainty in the hereafter. So the Quran is described as a guidance because it guides us to what is good, and a good news because if you're a good person who truly wants to do good, what better news is there for you than a guiding book that tells you exactly what is truly good and what is truly evil? Allah further says in the Quran, in Surah number 25, verse 1, glorious is the one who has revealed the criterion, decisive authority to his servant so that he may be a warner to all the worlds. The Quran is described as the decisive authority. It is the source of objective morality. Because what better source of objective morality than the one who created mankind? Who better to tell us what is good and evil for us than the one who created us, the all-wise, the all-knowing creator of the universe? So not only does Islam have an objective morality, it has the most credible and the most authoritative, nay, the only credible source of objective morality. And under this source of objective morality, you are no longer a slave to your desires, but you are a slave to Allah. Now, what is good and evil is not based on your own proclivities or your own convenience. If it comes to the Fajr Salah early in the morning, you have to wake up early in the morning, regardless of how difficult it is. If it comes to controlling your anger, you have to control your anger, regardless of how difficult it is. So you will be tested, your character will be tested, and to prove that you are good, you will truly have to do good, no matter how easy or how difficult it is.